Hey playa, as the summer's coming to an end, we're getting closer and closer to going back to school. So today I wanted to share what my experience was like starting my first day of high school, what I was nervous about, what I expected, and how it all played out for me.
This is the Josh Speaks, you're watching the Josh Speak.
First, I want to say that graduating middle school wasn't easy. It was hard for me to let go of my friends and to move into this new environment where I really didn't know anyone. I mean, that's not really fair to say because my brother did go to the school, so at least I knew him there, but I didn't know anyone that would be entering my grade. I had a lot of expectations leading up to that first day. Everything I had heard about high school before made it seem like it was this cool place where everyone knew what was going on, everyone had friends, and everyone was just hanging out all the time. And that made me incredibly nervous. What if I didn't make friends? What if I didn't do well in school? What if I just didn't fit in with the whole high school vibe? There was a lot of concerns on my mind, but push came to shove when it was finally my first day of school. I had to wake up in the morning, get ready, and go. For me, in middle school, my parents would pay a private bus company to pick us up in front of our house and to drop us off at school and to bring us home at the end of the day. But now that I was entering high school, I had to take public transportation, which I had never really done before on my own. When would I have ever needed to ride a public bus or train? And plus, I felt like I was so young and small compared to all the adult regular people that ride the bus and train every day. But my older brother had already been traveling to school for a year, so I just trusted his guidance on this one. My mom had to explain this to me several times to make sure I got it right in case ever I had to take the bus alone one day. So from our house, I'd walk down to the main avenue. As I then walked down the main avenue, eventually I'd get to the bus stop. Once I got to the bus stop, I'd have to make sure that I got on the right bus since multiple buses would stop at this stop. From there, the bus would ride down the bus route, and I would just kind of look out the windows to make sure I didn't pass my bus stop. And eventually it got to the stop right where the school was. As I then got off the stop for the school, I'd have to walk down, past the little field that was there for another school, and eventually I'd get to my school. Now, just hearing this all together made me feel like, man, I'm going to totally mess this up. Memorizing that route wasn't easy. I knew after a few times of riding back and forth, I'd eventually get it, but at the beginning, it was terrifying for me. And from here, I was even more confused with how the whole high school system worked with homerooms. In middle school, I remember we had clusters, so anyone that was in your clusters would generally take all the same classes as you. But in high school, it was completely different. I had a homeroom full of kids that weren't going to really be in any of my classes. We just shared that homeroom together. And I wasn't quite sure if reporting to homeroom was something we did that first day or if it was something we did every morning. Since we had our schedules and our schedule said that certain classes started at specific times, I wasn't sure if we had to go to homeroom first. I later understood that homeroom was where you went when you had to get school papers or your report cards and just official school things like that because it kind of operated as your main classroom whenever you needed to do those kinds of things. But once I was able to manage my homeroom confusion just a little bit, I then had to try to figure out how the schedule for classes worked. And in my school, it was particularly weird. In my high school, we didn't have a traditional lunch period. Instead, we had our Band-Aid, which listed out all the different classes we had throughout the day. And anytime we didn't have a class, that was called an opta. And an opta was where you had time to do whatever you wanted, basically. During opta, you can go to the lunchroom to eat, or you can hang out in the hallways. The confusing part was that opta was different for everyone. So some people had morning optas, which meant that they can come into school essentially a lot later, and then some people had end of the day optas, which meant they can leave school a lot earlier. For me, my first opta was in the middle of the day, so I figured, okay, that's going to be my lunch period. But instead of going to the lunchroom to eat, I would sit outside of my next class and just eat my lunch there. It was totally normal to see people hanging out in the hallways all throughout the school day. And in that first week of school during my opta, a girl had come up to me and become my very first friend and also had been my very first high school kiss. I've done a video about that which you can check out over here. From there, I just traveled from class to class following the school map and the Band-Aid that I was given. I thought it'd be a lot harder at first, but once I got the hang of it and understood how each floor worked, I was able to easily find my classes. One of my major concerns in high school was that everyone was just going to get it. They were going to make friends, they were going to do well in school, and understand everything and leave me in the dust. But that's not exactly what happened. I thought that I was going to be alone in my experience, that I was going to be the only one nervous and afraid of figuring out this high school world. But as I looked around me at all the other kids starting just like me on that very first day, They were intimidated too, and they were also trying to figure it out for themselves. And that's something that I think is super important for you to realize, that you're not on this journey alone. Everyone else that's starting high school with you is trying to figure it out for themselves too. By the end of the school day, I felt a bit overwhelmed by everything I had to take in, the new classes, the new people, the new environment, but I knew it was something that I can eventually learn and manage and not be as nervous about. So once the school day was over, I had made plans with my brother to meet in a specific spot. And once we met up, we just followed the same route going back to our house that we did coming to school. In some ways, heading home on that first day, I felt kind of ready for the journey and experience that was ahead of me, known as high school. I knew that I can do it. I just had to assert myself as best as I could. Yes, I would feel nervous and afraid, and I would get things wrong and not do things right. I knew that was bound to happen, but I wasn't afraid of failure because I knew that I can learn from it and move forward and make high school exactly the experience that I wanted it to be. What do you think though? Are you getting ready to start your first day of high school? Or if you've already started high school, share your experiences down below so that everyone else can learn from them and get prepared themselves. Don't let high school scare you. It's really no different from what you're already used to. You're gonna have to travel around to your classes, you're gonna deal with other students, and you might get the occasional annoying teacher here or there. Trust me guys, high school can be an amazing experience if you work towards creating that environment for yourself. And if you feel like you're too nervous about it, you can always reach out to me to talk about it. As always guys, love and peace.